to the drawing board with part 2. River Lunacy here, putting this reel back together. We're going to begin with the brake plate. So let's turn that camera down. I was going to do just a standard cleaning and everything so everybody can keep with me and you can actually do your reel as you watch the video if you like. Alright, this is the fun part here. So I just used some pretty standard grease. It's Pin, which is a nice grease. It does a good job. Very simple oil, a nice light type of oil. This one's made by Liberty. You can use either Garcia's or Akia's, whatever brand reel you have, or if you have another one that you prefer, that's okay too. I'm going to start with the arms. So what I like to do with these, all right, so you go smallest one first, then your medium sized one, your little thumb clutch part, and then this one. So you'll put, I like to put just a little bit grease on there. Drop that down. Small, medium, large on these little arm guys here, okay? Pretty simple. So that one goes down. Then I like to take and put a little, so I put a little grease on there, put a little bit on here, both sides, because you got metal rubbing metal. This one goes like that. This one, I'm gonna start here. Actually, I'm gonna hold it like this because I want to put a little bit here. I'm gonna put me a little bit here. Flip it over. And this runs underneath that other part. So we're going to put a little bit here on that also, and a little bit right on there. That should be good. I think we might put a drop there. Alrighty, so then this one goes on this side of that prong. So you might have to, actually it goes like that. So it sets on there just like that. Always remember that this part faces up towards you because this sets down on there. You'll know once you go to put it. If you have that wrong, you'll know when you at the end and you won't be happy. So the next thing is going to be this little guy here. I want to say it's called the Yoke. And I'll take me a little grease and I'll set it right down in that little bowl, because that pinion is in there, goes in there. So pinion runs facing up, just kind of snaps back, it snaps in there. Actually what we want to do is put a little tiny bit of grease on that. We're going to put a little bit on the main gear also, but I'll just put a little bit on there anyway. Don't have to use a ton. So that just pops right on in. Pretty simple. You'll hear a little snap. Then what I like to do, where the oil comes in, I just put a little tiny bit, like a drop, on them two stands right there. That's where this slides up and down. So the pinion gear, the open side, faces the big stand because that's where your main drive and your gears go down. So we're going to go ahead and slide that right on there. See how that works? Back and forth. Slides it straight up and down. That's why I put that oil on there. You don't have to, but it does run nice when you do that. All right, so now onto the main gear. Let's grab that. We've got all of our washers here. That's all those. All right, so usually what I'll do, I'm actually upgrading this washer system. That's Carbon Tex. Make sure you get the right ones that fit the correct reel. So I run these dry. Some people put some stuff on them. If you want to, you can. You don't have to. Let's see here. So you get one here, one down. Then your round one goes down. Then another one. Then the one with the little ears goes down, and that sets in there. Give it a little push. Your other one. And then your cap. Then this guy will go on your main drive. That's the smallest one. Okay. All right, so back to the gears. Sorry guys, I got stopped a second there. So your small one goes on the drive. All this kind of goes together. They're all slotted, so they will run in order. You can put just a tiny bit of grease on there if you like to. I don't really care to myself. I'll take and I'll put a little bit of, tiny bit of grease at the bottom there. A little tiny bit across this stand, just in case, because this will rub that a little bit. This is the part. Remember that little shim that I said to set off? So I'll put a little bit on my fingers and I'll put that on there. As I run that down, it's going to pick up a little bit of it anyway. So that goes down. I'm going to make sure I put a little bit on that. Just a tiny bit, because I'm going to sit there. I'm going to flip this up and I'm going to put a little bit right on the bottom of that also. Don't need a whole bunch, just a little bit, because them parts, they do rub. That just sits down in there. You might want to sit there and make sure your gear and your main gear and your pinion are running together. See how it's all turning. Usually I do this before, but I actually forgot. I like to sit there and put a little grease on that main gear. Don't need a ton, just a little bit here and there. Because we already got some in the yoke and we got some on the pinion. That's going to go on it. It's going to catch on anyway. I'll just go right along, get it in them teeth. That's pretty good. Maybe another little drop of it right in there. Pretty good. Okay, so that's your brake plate done for the most part. Now, on this side here, you got your guy here. I'll put a little bit of grease on just on that. You could put a little oil on it if you like. It's okay. Don't need a whole lot of anything. This just kind of pops together. Pretty much self-explanatory. Once you get it there, I got it facing the other way, so it just snaps on them two little snaps right on there, just like that. Okay, so there's that part done. We're going to set that off to the side a second. Sometimes I do this at the end, but so don't forget to mention it. I do like to put just a tiny bit of grease on these threads right here. Notice in the beginning I mentioned a lot of times your drag wheel will get stuck on there. That'll help. Plus, loosening and tightening your drag up, it'll make it a little smoother transaction. So that's probably plenty enough right there. Next step is going to be, we're going to go ahead and lube this IAR bearing, instant anti-reverse bearing, inside here. I do take a nice, pretty healthy amount of grease and I just roll it in there. Just roll it around in there. Look around and make sure everything looks nice and greased. You do want a healthy little portion in there because that's going to keep your winding real nice and smooth, you know. I think that's pretty good. I'll put just a tiny bit on that little rim right there. And then I will also take and I'll put a drop of oil, since I'm already working on this outside part, just a little bit. A couple drops of oil to keep some moisture on that O-ring right there. That helps hold that cap on so you don't lose it. I'm gonna leave this set for a second. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and put this back together so we're covered up here. Just kind of goes like that. Line that up right there. There's a little slot on your plate for your clutch. Okay. You got your 2 screws that go on there. Let's see, matching screws. Here we go. So there's 2 screws that are identical. They just go right on in. I'll just place them in. My little baby screwdriver here. Nice and snug. I do like that nice and snug because that's what holds their plate to the other one there. All right. All right. I'm gonna go ahead and put my cap back on. It's nice and smooth there. The little bearing shield slides down in there. You want that in first before you go. It just kind of lines up and that shield just slides straight on down. I usually take a little flathead screwdriver and I'll just make sure it's placed in properly, nice and flush with everything down in there. You'll know when to stop. And your little drag washers here, they're shaped funny, and they're shaped funny for a reason. So you want them to be opposites when you put them back together and they go down. So they go, because they are a spring washer, I believe is what they're called. So they line up. You'll see there's a gap. You want them to where they're opposites. Okay, see how that's all spread apart. That's how you want them. And then they just line up with the drive and go straight down. And you can put a little grease on them too. And then I just take my little flat screwdriver and run that down after I put a little bit of grease on them too. Just a little bit. Okay. And we already put grease on the main drive there, the threads. So then this will just roll right on down. Get it going a little bit first. Bends right on down. If you have any issues, if it's getting stuck, you can grab something to hold that. One thing that helps, a little trick, is you set that handle on there. To hold that main drive and then wind it down. Usually you'll get past a little kink or so and it'll run just nice for you. So that doesn't need to be real tight right now anyway, because we're not fishing right yet. So I got that down. There's that part. I just do that to hold my stuff in there, all them spring washers and everything, so nothing falls out during the rest of the process. So could go ahead and put it on. Up in here is a groove. Make sure that's away from you. And then you can line it right on up. It'll go on there real nice and easy. Then I'll just take my fingers and I'll run these on down next. Then I'll take my screwdriver. A lot of times I just give them a little quarter turn. And then as I'm fishing, as time goes on, I just check them. I don't want them to be real super tight. All right, there's that part. I wasn't really going to upgrade this reel, but I changed my mind. So it might be called making a 6000 into a Mack truck. So I don't like the way this cogwheel's running. I mean, it's probably okay. You know what? Let's leave it alone. We're going to go ahead and cut it off. So the way you do that is take a razor blade very gently, run it straight up against that stand in there. Be careful. And then I'll turn that wheel with my other thumb. So you're just cutting right along. Sometimes you'll hear a pop. That usually tells you that you're all the way there. Sometimes you might have to hit it a couple times, depending on how sharp your knife is. Mine is getting pretty worn out. But a little ring will come off. Make sure you throw that away. You don't want it getting stuck in between your gears. So that'll just pop right out of there, just like that. Worked out good. We'll wipe that off. Wipe off anything there. If you do that, you got to make sure you have a C-clip. So what I'll do is I'll just clean that up. I'll hit it again with this razor blade a little bit. And then I might take a piece of sandpaper and just clean it up. Anything that's jaggedy on there. You don't want that because you want everything nice and flush and clean. The reason why I do this is because the top nipple part of that hits the top of that stand right there. So that's rubbing and causing this to slow down, which will cause your casting ability a little bit, a few feet or whatever. I don't know how much, but definitely will help speed things up. So I just throw this little extra part in there, I guess. I'm gonna go and I'm gonna sand that off and I'll be right back. All right guys, I think that's enough for part 2. I don't want to make it too awfully long of a video because I don't want you to get too bored. So, and that way you can go back and find what you want to do where you're at in case you are just looking for one certain part of the video. So that was our main drive, our main gears and everything, and partially put back together. I just do that as I go along some when I do these my reels. And the next part, we're going to go ahead and do the spool bearings, and the worm drive, and probably go ahead and complete the reel on and off. So stay tuned. We'll see you on the next one.